The ascent of Pope Leo XIV to the head of the Catholic Church immediately brings to mind Paolo Sorrentino's 2016 drama series The Young Pope. Starring Jude Law in its lead role, The Young Pope tells the story of a fictional cardinal who's elected the first American pope in history after the death of Pope Francis. Now that the new pope in real life is the first in history to hail from the United States, the young pope's story takes on even greater relevance. There's a key similarity between what happens in the series and the election of Leo XIV. In fact, while the young pope is a somewhat satirical caricature of the papacy, it gets certain details right about the history of the position, both recent and distant, that make it more than just make-believe. The best TV shows about the Pope tend to have some basis in reality, and although The Young Pope is far from a true story, it draws on historical anecdotes to embellish its fictional narrative. Popes from Pius V to Benedict XVI are referenced in ways that only a Catholic historian might recognize, but which are nonetheless instructive about the nature of the satire. The young Pope portrays an outsider beating leading contenders to become the first American Pope. Jude Law's Pope Pius XIII is similar to Pope Leo XIV. Jude Law in white, staring intensely at the camera in a The Young Pope promotional image. Jude Law's Pope Pius XIII seems, for all intents and purposes, very different from the real-life Pope Leo XIV, formerly known as Robert Prevost. Yet, the stories of how they each came to be elected Pope are strangely similar. Both the young Pope's fictional Lenny Belardo and the real-life Robert Prevost were rank outsiders who became head of the Catholic Church after the death of Pope Francis. Neither was considered to be genuinely in the running, and they were both substantially younger than the more likely candidates whose names were being bandied about in the media prior to the papal conclave of cardinals. Belardo and Prevost each somehow beat out leading contenders to make history. Just like Belardo in the 2016 show, Prevost has become the first pope in history from the United States of America. The young pope depicted the fictional election of the first American pope just 9 years before the real event occurred. Once Belardo becomes Pope Pius XIII, however, he turns into a very different person from Pope Leo XIV. While Pius XIII is a socially conservative pope who attempts to concentrate power into his hands, it appears that Leo XIV is a continuation of the more moderate papacy of Francis. Nevertheless, there are other historical examples that the young pope draws on in its portrayal of Jude Law's central character. What else Jude Law's The Young Pope show gets right? The show's historical references to real-life popes add weight to its story. The Young Pope episode 4 features a plotline in which Pius XIII threatens to expel priests suspected of homosexuality from the Vatican, after he observes apparent homosexual behavior from several priests during a diplomatic event. This plotline reflects the feelings expressed by Pope Benedict XVI in an extended interview published earlier in 2016, about the gay lobby that he felt wielded too much influence in the Holy See, via The Guardian. The fictional Pope's threat takes things further, of course, but his views appear to be very much in line with Pope Benedict's. Meanwhile, the first religious sermon given by Pius XIII in The Young Pope takes after the one by his namesake, Pius V, a hardliner who focused his administration of the Church on stamping out heresies and concentrating power into his own hands. What's more, the show's surprise ending is a reference to Pope John Paul I, who suffered a similar fate to Pius XIII just a month after taking office. The drama series never pretends to be historically accurate, but the historical elements of its plot add weight and authenticity to its satirical take on goings-on at the Vatican.